Hey, good evening, everyone. Wow, this is a crowded room. This goes to my theory that everyone loves Ted Danson. In fact, I have to tell you, I posted something on Facebook today about how excited I was to do this, and I am not kidding you, my inbox got flooded with messages. Everybody has an amazing story about this guy, about working with him, or he bought them a coffee or something, and it's always nice to know, even as though he's so evil in this show, that he's actually a nice guy. So without further ado, I mean, this is an actor who just keeps coming up with one amazing show after another. I'm just going to name a few, which include Cheers, Becker, Bored to Death, his greatest role playing Ted Danson on Curb Your Enthusiasm, Fargo, CSI, and now The Good Place. Along the way, he's earned 3 Golden Globe Awards and 2 Emmy Awards after 15 nominations. Please welcome Ted Danson.
By the way, I could see you when she said, what was the thing where you made them clap about how wonderful I am or something?
Yes, I
saw several people go, and I remember who you are.
No, it is really funny because I didn't expect it to be so crowded with a 5 o'clock screening, but I should have known better because it's Ted Danson.
You're doing it again.
I don't see anyone rolling eyes this time. You've scared them properly. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on probably the greatest track record of anyone in television. I do like to start at the beginning, though, and this is a SAG audience. I want to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card? Oh, gosh.
Wow.
I hope you have one, because you're a SAG nominee a couple times.
SAG? I guess because I did. Oh, I got AFTRA because I did a soap opera in New York, and I probably got it by doing. Do you get SAGs from doing commercials? That's how I did it because I did commercials in New York. Yeah.
What was the commercial? Do you remember?
Oh, many. Pampers. I was the smart dad who put his kid in the Pampers. The other dad had the upset baby, and there was actually this rather large, unpleasant-looking baby wrangler who would, when it was time to make the poor baby who doesn't have Pampers be unhappy, he'd give them both these stuffed animals and then go and take the one. And the first one was just puzzling. Cigar smoke in the face. This is horrible. You're in a horrible business, everybody.
I'm sure things are different now.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I'm so curious because I know you began your career in theater and in these really intense, like, dramatic roles in, like, The Onion Field and Body Heats. When did you first start to get into television, and did you sort of have an idea of what your career would be, ideally? Did you have a preferential medium?
Oh, no, that's way too much thought for what was really going on. No, I mean, I think like most actors, I was just 100% grateful that I got hired for whatever it was. Could never figure out why I got hired, one day and was not hired for all these other days. So to me, it was all miraculous, and I did not have a plan. I did not have a preference. I just wanted to work. I will say that I am very lucky. I fell in love with acting kind of later in life. I was at Stanford and stumbled into an audition because I was literally following a girl I was interested in, and she was going to the audition. The only way to stay in the room was to audition. So I did and made something up, and people laughed. And it was like, before that moment, I was just wanted to play basketball, and I clearly was not going to do that once I got to Stanford. And I remember the laugh going, that's almost as good as basketball, not quite. But I fell in love with the process of acting and was just smitten. So it almost didn't matter to me for the longest time, not true now, whether I was acting in an acting class or acting as an extra in a commercial or off Broadway or what. I didn't care as long as I got to act. I was just, and I still kind of feel that way. I just love going to work with crews and actors and driving through studio gates. So So I don't have a plan to answer your question.
Even now, you don't have
no,
a plan?
I have learned something later in life that the best thing to do is find the most creative person in the room that has a passion project or has something they just have to write, and then ask very nicely if you can be part of it, and don't worry about the size of the part, because if you're working for somebody like that, you have a chance that it'll be an authentic and kind of new thing. So that's what I lead my, I just look for the next really creative person who will have me.
Is it strange to you? I mean, you couldn't have imagined when you signed on for Cheers, like, not that it would just be a great show, like you hope for that, but the crazy cultural impact it would have even now, all these years later. I mean, looking back on it now, do you just sort of marvel at it, or did it seem surreal at the time?
I think most of us, it was the first thing we had done on television, so we just thought, wow, television's cool. How wonderful is this? I don't think it was until after Cheers where we all went out into the real world that you went, oh, that was special. We all knew that we were walking into a writing situation that had an amazing pedigree. Les and Glenn Charles, came out of the MTM school, and Jimmy Burrows had directed Mary Tyler Moore and all these. So we knew the vein of comedy that we were lucky enough to be part of. Yeah, when you're 35, it's kind of unexamined. It's very rock and roll, and you just. I don't know that I learned the word gratitude until after, perhaps, that.
And I think what a lot of people don't remember or don't know is that Cheers was not a hit.
Yeah, we should explain this. This is a show I did in the latter half of the 20th century. Anybody? I sometimes go out. When I'm not acting, I talk about oceans a lot. I'm on the board of directors of Oceana, and it's what I do when I'm not acting. And I went to Cornell to do this whole Oceana speech thing, and I said, perhaps I should explain why the guy who played Sam Malone is here talking to you about oceans. Beat, beat, beat. Then I went, perhaps I should explain who Sam Malone was and what Cheers was. It was like, it's wonderfully, if you're lucky enough to keep working as you get older, it's wonderfully humbling to realize that kind of underpinning of who you are. Yeah, I played Sam Malone means absolutely nothing to most of the people out in the world. So it's like, I have to redefine myself, don't I?
But then there's the other rest of the world that probably comes up to you on the street every day and says, I love that episode where Cliff went on Jeopardy. And actually, I am curious, what are you most recognized for when people see you?
Depends on which airport in which part of the country, It's a great way to kind of see who you are, where you are in people's minds. Boy, it changes. It really does. I mean, it depends on whether they grew up watching Cheers or... What I love right now, to get to the good place, is I have a lot of parents of 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds who are coming up saying, we love watching this with our kids because it's about something. Mm-hmm. It's about ethics. It's about what it means to be decent, to have, to know that there's a ripple effect with your actions, that they go out into the world and create either a certain amount of good or bad, and, there are consequences. And I love that. I love that it's about something and wrapped in this kind of 9-year-old fart sense of humor and with visual magic and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, how was the show pitched to you? Did you know Michael Schur, the creator?
I did not, no. Yeah, he sat down and he was with a co-writer who was about to they were pitching a different show about a Supreme Court justice or a federal judge, I can't remember which. Which means I would have been horrible in that part. And I was other guy in the room was pitching it, but my eyes kept going to Mike, and then we asked Mike later if he had something else, and this was it. And he talked for 45 minutes, and literally just spun this amazing tale. And I was in. I was just hooked. I didn't quite know how to do it. I didn't quite understand where the funny would be or how to get at it. But man, I just wanted to be in the same room with that guy. And Kristen Bell was a great friend, a new great friend. I'd met her on a film with John Krasinski, and we'd all become buddies. And so knowing that she was interested and perhaps attached.
Did you know it would work? Because when I watch this show, which is so brilliant, I often marvel at how there are so many things, so many ways it should go wrong. And it almost shouldn't work. And it works on so many levels, not just as a comedy, but like the episode you just watched, for those of you at home who are watching this, is the one where he sends Eleanor into the portal, and I like genuinely get choked up. Like, it's really powerful stuff. Was that on the page? Was that when you spoke to Michael?
Yeah, everything is on the page with him, which is great because if you wonder if you have a technique or you've been to classes or whatever, how do you approach things? And at this point in my life, I'm not quite sure how to answer that other than when the words are really, really good and thoughtful, you just let them play you, and his words are so good, he and his staff of writers, that you just kind of let them wash over you and go on that ride, go on their wherever they take you, and just commit to that. And it almost ends up being a mindless, fun journey that I couldn't. Anyway, I'm rambling.
And from what I understand, Michael told you from the beginning sort of how season 1 would end. So you knew, is there part of you that almost wishes you didn't know? Because when we see you in the first few episodes, we just think you're this nice, helpful guy. But you knew in the back of your mind the entire time that you were running a con, essentially.
Right. Yeah, it was really strange, too, because nobody knew.
Nobody else knew?
No. Kristen Bell, myself, Mike, the staff of writers, few producers. Literally, that was all. The rest of the cast didn't know. The directors that would come in to direct us in different episodes didn't know. So I would constantly be wanting to talk to the writer who was standing next to the director, and I'm sure they felt slightly insulted that I would go, I just need to talk to this person over here. So we had this code of, so I can't remember what it was, but it was like objective in the scene or super objective. And the super objective meant Michael the demon, what he would be thinking. But really all you had to do is play. See, I'm your basic actor who 50-50, it'll be bad or good. 50 at best, 50-50, because there's not an actor's trap I do not fall into, which if I know there's something sad coming up, I'm there on page 1, giving it all away and demonstrating how good and clever I am, so not knowing is actually a really good thing for Ted. And that was the problem. When I first heard about the show, I kept wondering, how do you do the funny? Because usually, the funny comes because the audience knows that I know something, that there's this triangle of information going on. And the first season, Michael had no private moments, no independent activity. He was always would show up in a scene and then disappear. So he was just, that was it. So the funny had to come from, he was over his head.
Yeah.
He thought that he was disappointing the humans and he couldn't figure out why, and he was easily panicked and all of that stuff. But really, it's so smart. Sorry, you all should be thinking this and not me saying it. But it's so smart, so smart that you could play back during the second year. You can play back the first year, and there's no red herring. This literally was, you could go, yep, he was torturing him.
I heard that there was one other person who actually was in on The Secret. Tell me if this rumor is true. You told John Krasinski?
Yeah. The whole success of the season depended on people not knowing, literally, or else there would have been, and thank God people did not know, the audience in general. But Mike Schur had directed and worked and written on The Office, which John was in, and John and I are buddies. So I went to my buddy and said, hey, I'm going to be working with one of your friends, Mike Schur. Oh, I love him. And I think he was about to go up and make some big movie. So I was
Good luck with that.
Yeah, trying to impress him. And so I told him, he said, what is it? And I said, well, but basically it takes place in the afterlife. And I could see his eyes go, okay, The Office in heaven, got it. You know, I went, no, motherfucker. I played the demon. I'm actually, you think I'm the good guy, but I'm the bad guy. And and he went, oh, that's cool. I went, yeah.
Worth it? Well, thank God John Krasinski can keep a secret.
I called him immediately after it became clear that we were all sworn to secrecy. John, please. Kristen Bell didn't even tell her husband, Dax.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I am. If if it's a serious secret, I might keep it. But if it's,
well, in that case, tell us everything that happens in season 3.
Yeah. Fool me once.
I can't help but notice that it's a common theme with a lot of the movies you do too, but all of your TV shows, you're always in these fantastic ensembles, just surrounded by other great actors. Is that something you think you're drawn to naturally?
You never know whether or not you're Tom Cruise, not Tom Cruise by design, or the movie star who goes out and everything hangs off of that person, or whether it's a choice, or whether that's what you're capable of, or that's where, luck took you. But I do love ensemble, and I think for me it came from basketball. I love team. I love being part of a group. Yeah. And I think that came a little bit from Carnegie Mellon University, where I went to school.
One person. That's how picky they are.
I'm getting a doctorate next week.
Really?
Mary has 3 of them, so it's like, yes.
Yeah, but you have more Emmys.
I wish I had the thing that I could read you all the other people that are getting these doctorates the same day. I can't even pronounce the occupation that they're in, but it has to do with computers and physics and, all these amazing things. And then there's Ted, But I'm getting hooded, as they say.
Can't you just say anonymous?
Yes, right. But Carnegie was theater training. The play is the thing. And I like that. I love group.
When was the last time you were actually on stage doing theater?
I had an unfortunate experience at the Atlantic Theater. Do you know that? Anyone knows that in New York?
Yeah.
It's this
Macy's Company?
Great, yes, Atlantic Theater Company. And our friends Neil Pepe and Mary McCann run the school and the theater company, and they had this 25th reunion, our 25th anniversary. And so they had 25th and 25 playwrights came, and you would do 5 plays a week and then a new set of 5, and they did that for 5 weeks, and it was this celebration. And the only mandate for the playwright was it should be 20 minutes long. It can be anything. It can be a musical, it can be a play, it can be 3 acts, it can be a monologue. I got a monologue, and it was an 18-minute monologue.
Oh.
Brilliant, about this guy who discovers he's talking to the audience, and it's like trying to figure out his day, and something's really troubling him, and he goes through the whole day, and he gets more and more anxious and panicky as he gets closer to the end of the day. And you realize that hell, literal hell, is in his basement at home. And then you get to that part, and then he goes back upstairs and let the dog out, and by the time he's back in, you can see he's starting to forget. So each day he has to remember this kind of Dante-like thing. And so I psyched myself out. And I'd seen someone do the 5 the week before, and you had 3 days, no, 3 not days of rehearsal. You had 3 rehearsals.
Oh my God.
And so I saw somebody go up, and thank God, because I thought, when you go up, somebody go, the line is it's from the back in the the light box in the back over a microphone that they would give you the line. So I thought, oh brother, I better think of some. unpanicky way to ask for a line. Anyway, I psyched myself out. I was literally, I'm guessing 30 seconds in, if that, to my 18-minute monologue. And, you know, it's like sticking your finger into a light socket or something. It's like my entire body. Oh, fuck. Do I cry? No. God damn it. My daughter's in the audience. Oh, I can't believe this is happening. You know, just whoop. And adrenaline just rushed in my body. So I said, Gabby, what happens next? And Gabby, the stage manager, had probably just sat down with her cup of coffee going, okay, here we go. You know, what? Look for what I had said. Gave me the line that I had just said before I forgot the next line. So she gave me that line. I was like an idiot, I went for it. And actually, it's the, you know, I just thought, I had so much adrenaline pumping through my body. My poor sweet daughter had to walk me around the block in Manhattan for like literally an hour, drinking liters of water because I had so much toxic adrenaline rushing through my body before I finally calmed down. My sweet friend, the director, called me the next day and said, why don't we go to the theater early and I'll work with you. And literally, even in that half hour that we worked together, every time I came to that line, my body went, but he was so sweet that he just made my mouth flap. And that night, and every night for the next week, when I got to that place, I was just, my body had like post-traumatic stress or something. It would panic, but my mouth had been trained to just keep going over the panic. So to answer your question, never again, or at least no monologue, that's for sure. I have friends that have like went to earwigs. You know what those things, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I don't understand how they do it, because that's a whole different game where you hire some sweet person to half a mile away read your lines. You know, they're wired into what's going on. But think about that. That would be hard.
That'd be really hard.
Really hard. But they got so scared in some moment like that that they went, er.
But you went back up and did it, and you made it through the week?
Yes, and I was really, really good. Because I understood sheer terror, which was what the guy was going through. Enough about me.
And that's actually interesting. So you did 2 pieces where you basically had hell nearby that you were controlling. This was, I assume, long before The Good Place.
It was. It was about 10 years ago.
I also think it's so interesting because I think more than any other character, Michael has had this amazing arc on the show. I mean, he has to play so many layers. You talk about like coming off as a nice guy who's secretly a demon, but now he's, although I still don't quite trust him, but now he's like coming around to actually caring about people. And it's only been in 2 seasons. I
kind of love that arc, that he really just is fascinated and loves human beings. Yeah.
And is really learning new things.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Several people have told me, I don't know why this moment, but in the season finale when you knock over the potted plant, people love that moment.
Me too. It was petulant.
I
love
it's like he's discovering
futile, gestures of petulance.
Was that in the script, or do you improvise
No, that
much?
was my proud little moment.
Was it
That
really?
was mine. That was mine.
Was
it
it
was a
really?
Mike Schur. See? Yeah.
No, that's just...
It was. I'm punchy, but go on.
No, you really improvise that?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Because of all the moments I could have picked out.
Please vote for me. I'm sorry. I've been doing this all day, and Mary said, "Oh, you're on your Please Vote for Me tour." It's for the show.
Do you have a favorite moment though over the last 2 seasons? A moment that Michael has, or a particular storyline you loved?
I don't. I do know that the laugh at the end of season 1 changed things, because I think people, and social media now has such an impact on people's viewing habits, because I think social media of the people who watched it went nuts, and then people went, wait, what are they all talking about? And they went back, and coincidentally Netflix had picked up the show, so people could go back and binge watch. It's such an interesting time for television. You know, you can absorb it at so many different ways.
And so many people, there's so many gifs of you, or do I say gifs? I never know how it's pronounced. But there is a meme that is appropriate for every situation.
All of those words you just said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've become my mother. Oh, you kids, you handle that stuff.
It's like a little animated photo of you quoting a line from the it's a clip from the show,
I
basically.
want one.
Oh, well, you're on Twitter, right? Type in Ted Danson.
No.
What? You're not? That's not you? Who have I been talking to?
Twitter's. Oh, no. You're talking to my either somebody from NBC or my assistant, so you don't have to talk. It's all right. It's not me. Yeah, that's the bowels of hell. I can see Mary every once in a while go and be hurt by something. It's no. I'm not going there.
I mean to laugh, that's terrible, but now I feel guilty because I told you I made fun of her because we were able to finish an escape room, she didn't, and now I feel a little guilty about tagging her in that.
Yes, you should be. I went to an escape room and discovered there was a cot in the corner, and I was with Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell, very A-type personalities and very bright. I took a nap. Literally fell asleep. They're pitch black, and they're anyway.
And they failed that room, as I recall.
And they failed.
Yeah.
Ooh, I feel bad. Yeah.
We have a question from Tony with an I. Wants to know, who do you prefer playing, good Michael or bad?
Bad.
Well, always.
Well, the second year, Michael, because I didn't know how to. I would watch the first year for real and go, either I'm doing my job or that is some of the worst acting I have ever seen. It was so hard to find the funny, and the second when you could reveal everything, that was like getting carte blanche as an actor, to be funny or whatever. So second year, Michael.
It's so interesting to me because it seems so effortlessly funny. Like I
You're
laugh.
looking at me like that really wasn't your question, was it? Did they just credit you? All right, good. Did I answer it? Oh, good.
I laugh so hard just when Michael walks past a demon and is like, "Hey, Bob," for whatever like. And it seems effortless, but I know that probably a lot of effort goes into that appearance of effortlessness.
I have psoriasis, so I look calm on the outside, but I'm eating myself up on the inside.
Do you guys?
Why am I still talking? Pull the mic. Pull the plug.
You want to take?
I don't have psoriasis. I made that shit up.
Do you want to do a couple more audience questions?
Yes, please.
Okay. We have one from George Dabbling, who wants to know, is that a phony name, George? Are you here? Oh, there you are. Okay, sorry.
Are you a serious actor, or are you just...
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wants to know what you... What do you think is the most important thing an actor should do when they first arrive on a set or location for the very first time?
I was stuck on why did I say, are you a serious actor? I was trying to play with your last name, and I'm sorry. I apologize. What was the question? Can you yell it out so I can... What is it? No, forgive me. What was your question? Wow, that's an interesting question. You know what? This is probably not answering any of the actory part of that question, but be nice to everybody. That crew, that person that ran to get you coffee or is helping you do such and such, they are literally your audience. So be nice. Enjoy yourself. Are you asking like as if when you first go to a location, what is the first important thing for you to do, or?
Well, no, I say, find the director, tell him you're prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm spoiled, or I have no sense of reality anymore because I've been doing it long enough that I've taken on the Mr. Danson mantle, which rightfully or wrongfully, you know. But yeah, what people are want to get home, the crew. I don't mean in a cynical way, but you know, so learn your lines. Don't make it about you, because it probably is not completely about you except for that moment. And then just have fun and be as good as you can be. But you don't want to be sucking up energy or making people have to deal with you, even if you're trying to deal with something extraneous about you. So learn your lines, do your job, have fun, go home, kind of thing. I mean, yeah.
It's such an interesting question, because I hate what I call the first day of school, which is
me too.
Yeah, showing up at a new job, showing up at anything, and actors have to do that over and over again.
Oh yeah. Oh, I am panicked. I literally get psychosomatic, illnesses, or and Mary so sweetly has to listen to me. No, the arthritis in my shoulder is I can barely move my shoulder. I'm so sorry. No, you don't understand. It's really bad. And she said, this happens literally every time you start a new job, or even an old job that you're coming back to. And for me, it is so real. It's so terrifying. It's first day at school. Can I do it again? This is it. They're going to find out. All of those things that you experience when you first start out, hopefully don't go away, Because if you were riding in on your laurels and aren't I wonderful and relaxed, you're probably not going to do the best work you can do, because you should be starting over at zero each, on the creativity. You should be at not knowing how. When you start a job, you should not know how to do it, so that you are creating anew, as opposed to, well, I'll build on my laurels, or I'll build on this or something.
We have another question from Matt King for Mr. Ted Danson. Wants to know, having done everything from iconic roles like Sam Malone on Cheers to excellent smaller parts.
I'm so sorry. I'm looking at you, but hearing the question. Can you ask me a question?
Do you remember the question?
I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
Played a great gamut of roles. Iconic role like Sam Malone in Cheers, great, excellent small roles in what you didn't see in Iconic. And so, with that kind of breadth to your roles, what is that part of the roles that you've done?
Yeah.
I wish I had something really thoughtful to say back, meaning that there's some thought that goes into me picking. But it's bizarre, and I think what I'm saying is true and not just something that I've said before. But it feels like I've never had a pile of scripts at home waiting for me to choose my next thing that I do. Literally, I finish something, and the next thing that seems to appear is what I do next. Whether literally. I'm sure some stuff gets weeded out by agents or managers or whatever. But you know what? I guess I was never. I'm not your tall leading man, silent, strong, follow me guy. I'm always playing something a little, a little tilted, and it's probably out of my massive amount of insecurities, growing up, and still that I look for the funny, the sad, the weak, the corrupt, the whatever, something that allows me to have some sort of inner life thing going that's not just if Sam Malone hadn't been an alcoholic, I don't think I would have found that sad funny. If the guy in Damages hadn't been so full of ego that he thought he was the bee's knees, but actually he was about to get tromped, that kind of hubris, which makes, to me, a character wonderfully funny, but it was a serious drama. So I think I'm always looking for that off-center, and it's not like that's an interesting choice. I think it's the only thing I can do, because I'm too afraid that I'm not enough just to stand up straight. But by the way, I made a joke, but I made a joke because it's real close to the bone. What I just said is true,
How many Emmys do you need to feel more secure? 'Cause
5 more.
5 more. Okay, we'll take care of that. Like at some point.
Yeah, here's the problem with Emmys. My wife Mary Steenburgen,
Yeah.
won an Oscar, and she has her Oscar at home. And I have, upon occasion, tried to surround her Oscar with my Emmys. And you can't. You know? You can't. An Oscar is an Oscar, man.
Well, I so look forward to whatever it is you do next. I cannot wait for the new season of this show. It is just the smartest, funniest show on TV. Thank you so much for being here.
I really had fun talking
I'm so
to you.
glad.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.